Hello and welcome to my Bosch MagDyno disassembly and reassembly video. Today I will be taking this Bosch D2B MagDyno apart and putting it back together to show you the various components. This particular D2B is off a BMW R12. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take the rear cover off. And there are two bolts, two screws here that we're going to take off. And many times, I've already had this one apart, and many times there are clips here to hold these in. This one doesn't have it, but that's okay. Now in here, you will see this is your charging wire, your output from the generator, and that is coming over to this bus. Now this is a bus over here, so coming out of the battery and going to the headlight is joined, and as this charges it goes to both. So this is a bus in here. So I am going to take that wire off here. Screws are very small, so don't lose them. Now, I'm not going to touch the regulator. I'm not going to talk about the regulator other than you want to throw these mechanicals out and put an electronic on. Please look at my other video, which is about rebuilding a D2A that I have, and I discuss how to put on an electronic regulator onto these. So that would be well worth your time if you have one of these. Now we're just going to focus on the bottom very quickly here. So this is the arm that holds the cover on, but believe it or not, it not only holds the cover on, but it also keeps the two pins engaged down here. That's the spring pin to make sure that when you retard the ignition, it snaps back. On most of these, there's an extra spring here just to give it an extra, to make sure it's fully seated into advance. But there's a spring also in this collar down here. And there's another pin that, and I'll show this to you in a few, that actually sets the advance so it can't go any further, so that it always comes back to the same point for advance, and also limits your retard. So let's take this cover off. Now this cover is actually a ground cover, so it does two things. It holds this all together, and it also provides ground. So this is your ground wire from your key or your button, comes in here, and it grounds this to this bolt, and that actually grounds your magneto and shuts your magneto off. So that's important to know. It's important to look at this. Everything looks good, so that's great. That's going to go to the side. So for these bolts here, we're going to talk about this collar first. Okay, so this collar right here, okay, this actually is two collars, your timing collar and your spring collar. Let's pull this off very carefully. You do not want to jam this, and you want to be careful with that. And you may have heard the click from the spring. So down here is the spring, and that actually is what pulls it back into full advance. And here's that pin I spoke about earlier. And let me grab a light here. And if you'll see, there's a slot here. So full advance, and that's what your stop is for advance. That makes sure you always come back to the advance that you had set prior, and then you pull it up for retard to start, and this limits your retard. So that's pretty much that. That's this post, and this post is for the spring. Now these are two collars. There's the outside collar, which is spring collar, and the inside collar, which is what I would call your timing collar. And if you look here, you will see two steel inserts in these. Okay, the newer ones I think is one piece of steel machined with two flats. But these steel inserts in here are what actually they're raised off the main collar, and is actually what creates the spark. Okay, so the points come around here. They hit this. The points open. The rubbing block comes around here, hits this. The points open. It fires. And then it closes, and this is your dwell time. And you can actually almost see here where it's raised. So you can feel it is a little raised. And these wear over time, and this is where you get your differential timing. Okay? And so I look at these timing collars as a wear item, and I replace them. You know, if I look at something like this, I'd be replacing that. Okay, but for this video, we're just, you know, checking these out and looking at it. But yeah, I'd be replacing this collar to make sure that we don't have differential timing. And now here, somebody has, I don't know why they've done this, but they've ground this down. So I have no choice but to use an adjustable on it. I hate doing that, but I will, because that's what I have to do. But you see a lot of these types of things over the years. People do a lot of very interesting and strange things with these older motorcycles. They do live a life, don't they? So this screw, this bolt, is very important. I noticed this, I mentioned this in my other video as well, but there's a taper here, and that taper matches the taper here. And that's very important to have it match. They make a lot of lengths, and they make a lot of different tapers for these screws. So you have to make sure that you get the right one and you have the right one. This one looks good. I can see where it's been seating. Okay, if I didn't think it was seating right, I might put some Dicom's red on there and then tighten it up and see where it's seating. But that one looks pretty good, like it was seating good. But again, someone ground it down. Why? I don't know, probably because they stripped it. Okay, so now this is your points plate or your timing plate. Okay, and in your timing plate, and I talked about this in the other video as well, on your timing plate, you have your points. Okay, this is your points right here. And they're actually on a threaded stud. So, and you adjust them with these two right here. And these are your points, and this is your rubbing block. So you see how it opens. Okay, and that's how it opens. It's actually very simple. So here's your rubbing block, here's your points. Okay, and as this rotates like that, okay, the points plate is rotating inside the timing collar. So it's kind of opposite from most where the points stay there and then the lobes rotate. Here the lobes stay and this rotates. Whatever. Point is, it's pretty straightforward. Now over here you have your coal or your brush. Okay, and that is the brush that provides connectivity between here and the points plate. Okay, and that's very important. That's what provides your connectivity between here and your points plate. You need that brush, and it has to be good. When I rebuild these, I virtually always replace the points. You also see here a stamped in keyway. That keyway matches the female keyway there. Everything looks good. The keyway looks good. A lot of times somebody tightens it up, but it's not in the keyway and mashes it down, but that looks good. The rubbing block looks towards the end of its life. You can get these from BMZ. The points don't look good. I would have to rebuild this whole entire points plate. Here you will see, down here, here you will see, hopefully you can see it. I'll get that here. You'll see an R down here. We'll see if we can get that on video. And that means right turning. You can set these up for right or left turning. This is a right turning points plate. Okay, very important to know, very important to make sure that everything matches up. There's a right turning MagDyno. You have the right turning points plate. Everything's good. So our next thing we're going to do is we are going to take off these. And these are very simple. Again, since everything's turning in there, you have to have brushes here that then give you continuity, and I'll show this to you later, with a phenolic disc that's in there. Okay, so when it fires, it's going to the right side. Okay, to the proper side, I should say. And so that's how that works. Don't lose your brush in there. So that's how that works. And so we're going to take those off. Next, it's time to take out the brushes from in here. Now, with a D2B MagDyno, these have updated brushes. You can pull them out a little bit through these plates, or if you're pulling the whole thing off, quite honestly, I just pull the whole thing off. You will not lose the brushes on a D2B. Okay, so let me take these off. And these screws are pretty mangled. If I was rebuilding this, I would be getting new screws from BMZ. And I put new screws in as well. So BMZ has all these components, and these screws are very special. They're not a normal. So here, take this off. That was tight. Okay, screw that off. Now the next thing you want to do before you take the back cover off is there should be 4 wires, because this is an older one. There should be 4 wires coming out from here. This one is your D+. They happen to route that down through here, D+. From the plus brush, we don't need to take that off, but you're going to have to take these 3 off. Okay, this is from the resistor. This is probably from the resistor. And I believe this one over here is from the other side of the coil, but not sure. There's 2 coils and 1 resistor, so maybe these are 2 coils, that's the resistor. Not sure, but we'll find that out once we do this. So the next thing we're going to do is take this off. A lot of times a quick bump right there is what's needed, and then this back plate will come straight off. Okay, just like that. Very easy, very simple. Here you'll see the brushes were retained because they have the wires, and I already knew that. So, and also the springs will stop them there. So they stay retained. I knew that, so I knew these weren't going to fall down into the unit. On a D2A, with the older spring setup, they will likely fall down. But that's fine, and I'll talk a little bit more about this back plate later. So what you have in here is you have your coil wires, your 2 coil wires, okay, and then your resistor wire, okay, and you have 1 resistor wire coming out that goes through and goes to ground, okay, so that's your resistor, and here's your coil wires, okay. Then you have your generator armature. This is the one that was bad in my D2A. It's fine in this unit, but your generator armature is going to have the following components from back to forward. You're going to have your bearing, you're going to have your grease shield, your commutator, your windings, and grease shield, bearing, probably a spacer in here somewhere, your front gear, and your front gear pin. Okay, that is your whole setup. That is your whole unit. Mine got rewrapped. Watch the other video for more of a thorough explanation. But you test this by going 180. Okay, you grab a segment here and you grab a segment here. Should be around 2 ohms, 2 to 3 ohms. Mine on my D2A was 0.1. And yeah, so there was definitely a short. That was way too small. Definitely a short, so that's why I had to set it out to get rewrapped. So that is the generator armature. Here you will see, and if you look at the other video, I go into a much deeper explanation on your generator field coil. But in here is your generator field coil. I hope you can see that on video. That is held in with these 2 screws up top. Okay, again, I go into a much deeper discussion of that in my other video. Now we're going to go into taking the bottom half apart. Now before we do that, I'm just going to take these windows off because I'm going to need to take them off to with the 2 plates now off, let's move to the bottom half. Okay, first thing you have to do is take the front gear off. This one was already loose, so that is the first thing. Watch out, do not tip it the other way, because once you take this gear off, sprocket off, I should say, then this is going to fall out. So let's take this sprocket off, and the sprocket has a keyway. In this case, there's no key in there, but the sprocket has a keyway, and we'll discuss the front cover in a second, and then you just basically push this whole magneto out. So this is our magneto portion. Much more complicated than the top half, okay? So let's talk about what the various components are here, okay? We have our back bearing that is pressed on. We have our distributor ring. This is, again, they have 1 cylinder, 2 cylinder, 180. There's all different types of left turning, right turning. There's all different types of distributor rings. But basically, what you should see here is you'll see there is a copper segment laid in copper or brass laid in there. And so when this turns and that segment is rubbing on this brush for the wire, let's put it this way so you can see it all. This brush for the wire, and it fires, it's going to fire to this plug because it's matching up to that segment. Okay, then coming off of the magneto, there's a wire that comes out here and actually joins up to that. So again, this is a wear item. Again, sadly, this looks pretty worn down. And this winding looks pretty old as well. You can have these rewound. I've had them rewound. There are other components in here, but this is far beyond what this video should be getting to, and my knowledge on how to rewind this. So yeah, you can certainly have these rewound. If your motorcycle gets hot and stalls, the culprit is 99.9% of the time in here, and you have to have this rewound. Now going forward, we have the gear, and as you can see on the gear sizes there, the top half turns a lot faster than the bottom half. Okay, and that is because the efficiency of the day wasn't so good, so they had to spin this really fast to get the voltage. So there's your gear, here's your front bearing, here's your taper for your sprocket, and that's that. A lot more in here than meets the eye, but like I said, this is beyond what this video is all about. This is a disassembly and reassembly video. Okay, so that is your magneto portion. Next, let's get into the housing. Put this over here like that. Let's get into the housing. We have our external magnets. I'm not going to take them off, but I do talk about these external magnets and how to test them in the other D2A video. Please watch that video as well. It's longer than this one. I am purposely making this short and working on getting this as short as possible for you, but watch the other one. Okay, these are booster magnets. There's a magnet in here, cast in here as well. But like I said, watch the other video for testing those. Next, we're going to look at the front cover. So in here, you will find a gear. And that gear is what joins this gear. Rides in between there and there. Okay, so there's your idler gear. So when you put oil in here, it goes here, goes down in here, and then drips down on this felt. So that's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Not much to see in there. Again, with the other video, this arrow is pointing right, which is correct. You can change these front covers as much as you want, so you can't really trust that arrow. Now that the front cover is on, let's flip it over again, and we're going to do a reassembly. Let's start reassembly. Let's put our magneto back in. We have to line up the gear. There it goes. It drops down, which is very nice. We're not all the way out though, so a lot of times you gotta push on this, but I'll do that in a bit. So that's number one. Number two, let's put our generator back in there. Let's line that up. There we go. So that all turned. There we go. She just dropped down. All good. Let's wipe our hands. And now let's look at our brushes here. So if you see the brushes, here are the brushes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push the brush and I'm going to push the spring to one side. And then if it wants to come back, it'll just sit there. So there you go. The spring is over there. I could do the same thing on this side. And there you go. So the brushes are fully back. The springs are unloaded. And now we can put this back on. Really quite simple. I'm going to put the resistor wire through this hole. Okay, because we're still using the resistor for this mechanical regulator. Put that through this hole. Okay. And then put this down. Okay. And make sure that seats right here. A lot of times you have to turn this so it seats right. There we go. Look at that. Very nice. And as I'm turning it, it just seated. You might have been able to see that. Pushed all the way down. You want to make sure that this goes all the way down. It's fully seated. That's great. Next, I'm going to just put the bolts in. By the way, there should be a screw up top, and there is not one in this MagDyno, so that's been lost. And again, you can get them from BMZ. BMZ is a great resource for these MagDynos. So what I like to do is I like to go around to the corners here. So I'll just get these down snug. I'm not going to tighten them. I'm just going to snug them like that. And then I put this guy in. And then I like to go 1, 2, 3, 4, that type of thing. So just to make sure that it comes down evenly. Okay, you want to make sure that it's even. So let's snug this up. All right, snuggish, a little bit more than snug. Same here. Okay, then down here, then over here. And for this video, that's it, because I'm quite sure the person is going to be taking this back apart before they, and this is another little, there you go. That's that. The back cover is on. It's even. Normally you would have another one up here, but you don't in this case. And so let's put our wires back on. Okay. One side goes over here. This is from your field coil. Remember, D plus out of the brush is already coming up here. So let's put your field coil here. Okay, there's one side of the field coil, which, and again, I'm not going to check this because this is going to come apart again, but you'd have to make sure that you have these, the polarity, if you will, correctly. Okay, here's your resistor. Your resistor is going to go to the bottom. Again, you want to not have this if you have a electronic regulator, but there's your resistor. Here's your wire from the, okay, with everything bolted up there. That's great. Next, we're going to put the bottom on. Start with your points plate or your timing plate, however you want to call it. Make sure that it lines up right. That's beautiful. Put this back in. Normally, that's a regular hex, but in this case, somebody has made it not. So I hate using the adjustable, but I will just snug that up because this is going to come apart again. That's that. Okay, now, so everything's ready to start putting this back on. So here you have your spring post and you have your timing post. The spring post is typically a little bit longer. In this one, it's really not, which is going to make it hard. But you want to get the spring post into here and your timing post into there. So you hook your spring post first. Okay, you always hook your spring post first. So here I'm going to put that down, find the spring post. Okay, there we go. Got the spring post in, pull it, and I should have the timing. Nope, didn't hook the spring post. Gotta hook the spring post. So in this case, because it's a little bit wonky, I'm gonna pull the spring post over. There you go. Now make sure I got it, push it down, and I do have it. Look at that. All right, so that takes a little bit of practice, but as you can see, it's not horrible. Okay, put the cap back on, put our holder back on, and there we go. It functions just fine. Put this back on. Remember the small bolt. So let's make this right here. Always interesting. There we go. I usually point that over there. Put that back on. Done. Put the cap back on. Put these screws in. Sometimes you gotta move them around a little bit to get down there past something. There we go. Okay. Bolts on. Oh, I didn't put the brushes on yet. So I will try to show you how to hook the brushes, but I think you can probably figure that out. Okay. So the first thing you want to do here is you want to push the brush down. Make sure the brush is fully seated. And then grab the spring and bring it over. Spring and bring it over. And there you go. Okay. That's going to play there. That's good. And now same thing on the other side. Make sure the brush is fully seated, which it is. Then grab the spring, pull it over, make sure it's centered, and you're fine. That's it. And you can tell it spins a little bit harder now because I put the brushes on. Now let's put our plates back on. That's fine. Let's put our wires back in. Again, watch the other video for a wire explanation and a better explanation at what are inside these wires. This is just assembly and disassembly. There you go. Okay, other side. And don't forget your front gear. That's it. We're done. That was the Bosch MagDyno disassembly and reassembly in quick time. Hope you enjoyed it. Go to vintagebmw.org and please subscribe. It certainly helps the club.